Welcome to another episode of the Power Investor. Today is the 9th of August, 2025, a Saturday. And as I make this video, Bitcoin is trading at 117.5K, Kaspa is about 9.5 cents. And today we'll be talking about the latest set of PAI values, how the recent volatility over the last week or so, what sort of opportunity did it present for Kaspa, and why my course of action was to not wait, hold on to what I have, but not buy any more Kaspa because it didn't hit the risk metric that I think is the biggest opportunity for us. So let's take a quick step back and understand this concept of the Power Amplitude Index, or PAI. The PAI ranges from 0 with the dark blue color all the way to dark red color at 1. And what we do is we take the price trace over here for Kaspa and apply the PAI algorithm that then applies a color to all the different price actions, the price point that we have. So there is a value that's generated between 0 and 1 for any price in its history. And that is dependent only on what's happened in the historical past for that particular asset, in this case, Kaspa. So for here, for example, and it's important to know that it only is based on what information we already have. I'm not coloring this based on information that I have now. So I'm not coloring, say, this point over here based on what's happened. So this is November 6th. It's not impacted by what happens after. It's only dependent on what's happened till that particular point. Okay. And so what this does is allows us to find areas of opportunity when the metric is a dark blue and areas of caution when it starts getting orange and red, because those are typically points where it's reached the point. It's reached a point where it might be too risky or a good point to lighten up. And it does a much better job of finding the lowest points rather than the highest points, particularly for assets like crypto, because they can really take off, right? But right now, we haven't had the particular alt season as yet. So we're really thinking, hey, what would be the best time to buy? And historically, you can see the darkest values in dark blue have popped up around here with the value when the price was near 5.8 cents, right over here, and then again over here where it was at 6.5 cents or 6 cents or so, 6.5 cents, yeah, or six. So basically, if you take a step back and you look at it, you'll see that these have been great points to be buying, right? And the selling parts happened way back in the past, so we won't really worry about that right now. And so if you follow my tweets, you'll see that the zero point 0.2 level, which is over here, is what I consider to be good buying points. So just sort of fade it in and out so you guys can see, or lower, right? So you're either right at the lowest between 0 to 0.1 and 0.1 to 0.2, not this one over here, right? So these were the areas that I was waiting for. And with the PAI that I've developed, it also tells you at what point that value would have been. So it was around 0.063 cents, I think, before. And it dynamically adjusts all the time, right, based on the new data that you receive. And so it's always a combination of of looking at fear and greed. When the price is going down, the fear kicks in, and we all think, hey, how much lower is it going to go? And when the price starts taking off, everyone wants to jump on and say like, "Oh, this is a great price," and just keep on going. And that's why I designed this PAI. It's completely independent from the power law, but it is mathematically based also. And it's not sort of me painting lines on charts and things, which is very hard for me to relate to personally, right? So I'm looking for a quantitative metric that allows me to cut through the noise and tell me when is a good opportunity to buy. But it's not predictive in the future. It can't tell you that the price is going to drop or the price is going to rise. It just tells you how is the price now compared to what's happened for this particular asset in its history. And so as you can see around here, I'm just going to zoom in. We dropped down to the lowest price of about, this was in June. We were looking at a PAI of 0.191. So we had 6.5 cents that we dropped down. But recently, in the last week or so, we are looking at prices of 0.83, and that only went to a PAI of 0.319, right? Or let's call it 0.3. And for me, that wasn't low enough for me to trigger additional purchases, right? Uh, the kind of investor I am, I'm really trying to find good entry points. And for good entry points, I know that we're not going to have a lot of them, but when they do come, it's ones that we should really take full advantage of, or I plan to take full advantage of. So if you look back on this chart over here, this tells us how much time we spend in each PAI distribution. And we get into the zero point 0.1 to zero point 0.2 and lower about 6.6% of the time or so, right? So we came to about this point. I think the lowest one that we came to around here was 319. So we didn't even get into this zone. We got into this zone. And this zone really isn't a terrific buying opportunity for me. I would really want to wait for some of these to start DCAing in. And the reason we DCA in is because you can't call it, right? You don't know how long it's going to spend in that particular zone. So at this point, you think, hey, it's gone up to 9.5 cents. Let me just turn this on so you can see the current price is 9.6 cents, and the PAI is showing a value of about 0.38. It's too late. Should I jump in? I wish I jumped in around this point. Uh, and you know what? It wasn't that amazing of a buying opportunity based on the PAI, right? So if we want to make real money and make those great gains, you got to be disciplined. And you can try and buy at different points and just hope that the overall market takes off, and that works for some people, but that doesn't work for me. And so I'm looking for those really low entries. And in that case, today, that entry would have been around 6.5 cents. Right now, we're trading at 9.5 cents. So my strategy is whatever the bag I have, I'm just going to hold on to it because I do think overall the market is going to keep on going up. But we are going to get some dips. And those dips are what the PAI is designed to find. And that's when we get the maximum profitability. So the strategy remains the same. I am going to be waiting for a risk metric of zero point 0.2 or later to hit. The existing Kaspa that I have, I am holding on at this point. Um, and if I am going to get a price of around 6.5 cents, that's when I will be adding, right? So I hope this gives you guys a little bit more perspective on what the strategy I have adopted based on the PAI that I've developed. It's going to have the maximum benefit when we do get those values, but we may not necessarily get those values. I can't tell you tomorrow, I can't tell you that all season is not going to start today and prices are just going to take off. But if you already have some deployed, you can hold on to it if you want to follow or mirror my strategy. Or if you don't have much deployed, you can start saying like, hey, anything below a point 0.4 or a point 0.5 is a good time to buy. And if you look at that historically, that would probably have been much better than buying at the highs. But I really think that if you are going to be patient and you are looking for maximal gains and you don't mind potentially missing out on some gains, right? Because the price could take off from here right now. This is not predictive, it's just saying what's happened. How is the price right now based on what's happened in the past? So I would sort of leave you with that thought and saying, hey, is this a good time to build my bag or this time to keep on adding to my bag? I would say that we want to wait for a PAI that's below zero point 0.2 if you really want to add to your bag at an advantageous price. But if you don't have a position, maybe you want to start DCAing it, right? We should realize that if according to the power law and what we've seen historically is that the year after the halving, we see a lot of explosive price moves in Bitcoin, right? We're already at 117, 120-ish K. So my expectation is that we hit somewhere between 150 and 200K in the next 6 months. Because it's not just matching that trend line, we are going to exceed that trend line of the power law. And if that happens, you can imagine that it is going to lead on to the other alt market, other altcoins. You can already see with Ethereum that started to take off, right, to around almost 4K. So if that's the case, Kaspa will also take off sooner or later. And now you got to ask yourself, if you don't already have a bag, do you want to wait for a dip to deploy or do you want to DCA in? I personally would choose a dynamic DCA in as soon as you put in a certain amount of money every day if you haven't got already got your bag. And then when the price goes down, you deploy a lot more capital to try to take advantage of that lower prices. The PAI is the tool that will allow you to do that. So hopefully this is informative and will guide some of your discussions. The TLDR is that I'm not worried that the price didn't enter my buying zone. I'm sure we'll get a chance sooner or later. My situations are different because I have my own bag and you guys may have your own particular situation. So it's not financial advice. But I really think the opportunity to deploy the capital that we've saved and worked so hard for is going to be best applied when we're about 6.5 cents. I hope we get it, but if we don't, I'm okay with just letting that buy, right? I'm waiting for the good, for the great price. I just don't want an average price. I want to have a great price to increase my holdings. So hopefully that is helpful. Drop a like and subscribe and hit the notifications and comment down below if there's any explanations that I can provide further. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Ciao.